Which all of this kind of connects in this discussion we just had with Eric Wynalda's provocative tweet. And Eric said, in his usual angry way, no. He said, the biggest problem with soccer in this country is that the talents and abilities of the players now exceed the knowledge of coaching. Discuss. He says, discuss. I didn't follow the discussion. I didn't have time. But I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, if you're talking about the coaches at, this county or that county's, or this regional soccer coach or this regional, okay. Some of those coaches probably aren't up to par quite yet. Although a lot of them have very interesting German-sounding last names or born in Scotland listen, a lot of those guys working with our youth teams are not Americans. Now, does that mean they're better? I don't know. But I guess, but if you're saying that, let's say, our U17s or U23s or our youth teams in general, let's say, if he's criticizing Richey Williams or Tab Ramos or Claudio Reyna, I don't know. Then I have to say, well, I guess my point on this, Brett, is who exactly is Wynalda?
That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know who he's pointing out here.
That's the big thing. I think Wynalda is referring to the big picture, and I would agree with that. If you're looking at the big picture, there are large portions of the United States where the soccer teams are the coaches are underwhelmed. Yeah. They have a lot of.
You mean underwhelming?
Underwhelming. Sorry. They may be underwhelmed. Either way, they have a bunch of dads filling in throughout the, who may have played high school soccer when they were younger, or may have played rec when they were even younger than that. Yeah. But if we're looking at the top clubs around the country, the developmental academies, I would argue against that and say we have some really amazing coaches with some actually pretty decent.
But it's kind of it's kind of hit and miss, though, isn't it?
It is, and you'll definitely see it at most clubs. A lot of the older age groups, the coaches will be more experienced than, say, some of the younger ones, because at that point the talent hasn't surpassed it. I think when you're looking at the big picture, I agree with Wynalda, but if you're looking at if you take a microscope to it, and you look at the club by club, the big clubs around the country, you'll notice that there are a lot of good managers there, a lot of good youth development going on, and especially like you mentioned at our youth national teams. I mean, Richey Williams has some people might not like him, but he at least has experience at the professional level.
And Tab Ramos, can you think of a better player? And Claudio Reyna, he's played all over Europe. I mean, he's got to know
exactly
the regimen.
It just depends on what you're looking at.
Right.
And that's the big question.
And that is the problem, Brett, because Wynalda's the same guy who used an example in his speech where oh God, who's the player who looks like the Beastie Boy? Steve Ralston. Yeah, thank you. So he's talking about Steve Ralston and Stevie Nichols not being able to connect because the insinuation was that Stevie Nichols didn't know what to tell Steve Ralston to do to improve his game. So, I mean, that's the thing. The problem about Wynalda is, I'd like to discuss, Eric, your topic, but I don't know who you're talking about specifically. And I don't know who the talents that you're talking about are either. Because it seems to me, if we're talking about Breck Shea, here's a guy who's getting totally hooked up now. When he's not playing for MLS, he's not playing for Arsenal, he's staying in shape. He's, playing against some of the best youth players in the world. He gets to play against the Arsenal first team. And we're doing that more and more. We're sending these young kids over during the break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting coaching from presumably some of the best coaching in the world.
That might be part of the discussion right there. I mean, you look at most of Shea's development is coming from an experienced college coach, and whether Shea does Shea have more experience than his coach as a professional? I mean, that might be the big question right there.
Well,
I still think Shea could learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Hyman could probably teach him a thing or two. I'm just saying, and maybe that's what Wynalda's talking about. You have professional players who are playing on the international level, whether it's youth national. I'll use Shea as an example here on both of them. Shea played with U23s. He's getting international experience, but he also plays with the senior squad. Was getting international experience with our senior squad under Klinsman. I mean, I guess that's the big question: is can Hyman continue to develop a player like Shea?
Yeah.
Can any of our managers really develop youth players the way they need it? We have all these homegrown players coming in, and you have a lot of coaches that are in MLS, most of which have MLS experience. So that's at least something. They have that background. And in all honesty, playing experience doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great coach.
That's true.
And that's the big thing. You could have all the experience in the world, but you might suck as a manager.
There's been a lot of them that have. Yep. And I think, I think that's absolutely right. I think the question I would ask Eric is, do I think that the way we're looking at youth development now is getting better under Reyna and moving guys like Tab Ramos into important positions? I'd say that is a big plus, and it's moving in the right direction. If he asked me whether or not the coaching in MLS is as good as it should be, I would say in a lot of cases no. But that is because we are a developing league, and most of the coaches, and maybe Hans Baca is a good example of, maybe this isn't true anymore, but a lot of them wanted ex-players who really understood how MLS worked and understood the rules and understood what it takes to get through a season and understood there's playoffs and understood what that means too, and so many other things.
And how many international players have they brought in as coaches that have international experience and top foreign leagues experience, and how many of them flopped? Exactly.
I could name quite a few.
Yeah.
And so again, I just wish I had a chance, and I should have maybe tweeted Eric and said, well, you're asking us to discuss this, but can I ask about the parameters a little more clearly so I can truly understand what you're talking about or what you're asking? Yes, and thank you for finally telling me it was Steve Ralston. That was really killing me, because all I could think of was Adam Yount from the Beastie Boys. Any final comments on this?
Pretty much hammered it down. There's no way to discuss it completely without knowing more parameters around it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a panel discussion, and we just can't have it because we don't have all the information. I'd like to. Eric, so let us know. Clarify, please.